Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. We're happy that you're joining us today. So very excited. We're going to let some folks just pop in for a second, and I'll just do a couple little housekeeping things. We're going to start quickly with a artist co-curator mention because my co-curator Jen White Johnson has to be brief for her visit with us, and then we'll kind of dive into the full of it all. I'll just start by saying hi, good afternoon, good morning. I'm Alissa Maru. I am a Black woman with crazy hair today, with lip earrings, with nice bronzer blush on, and curly
Can y'all hear
afro
me?
hair. We can. Yes.
What is this? Oh, MacBook speakers. Okay.
Can you hear us, Jen?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I was sharing with everybody that we're gonna let you say your hellos first, and then we'll kind of do the regular program. I know you have to really leave.
Yes.
So
And this is gonna be super quick because I have
yes.
students who are walking in like right now. Hi, come on in, have a seat. Hi. Um, no, I'm just really honored and excited that we're gonna wait a few minutes for students for. Hi. Sure. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, y'all. This is today's my first day teaching this semester at Micah. Okay. Hi. Hey, how's it going? Ooh, yes. Hi, lots of beautiful faces. Okay. We're good. I know. Hold on. See, these are all of my students. I'm like zooming into an artist talk really quickly. So hello. Yeah, I just want for them to, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. I think there's supposed to be 11 of y'all. If you can do me a quick favor and grab a little zine here, that's for each of y'all. Yes. I hope that there's enough. Okay, great. All right, so I will be back. Okay, so while my students are getting situated, can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, I am so excited and overjoyed that we're here meeting today specifically for this exhibition that contains so many artists that I love and that I respect. Just a quick image description of me today. I'm wearing a navy blue jumper and a floral collared shirt that has like blue and like navy blue and like grayish like patterns, and they're swirling, and it's like super exciting. It's like my first time wearing it, and I'm wearing a yellow headband, and I'm wearing gold earrings that say bonita, which is um, pretty in Spanish. Um, and I'm joining you today from Baltimore, Maryland, at the Maryland Institute College of Art, um, where I'm going to be teaching a class shortly to high school students who are navigating into art school for the very first time. And we're going to be talking about portfolio reviews, and so I'm going to be, uplifting this exhibition specifically so that they can go ahead and see what, a teaching artist is currently doing, and being able to curate a really amazing disability exhibition with, as I mentioned, a ton of artists that I admire. And I'm just so happy that we were specifically able to center disruption, and it was really beautiful getting to know each of the artists in terms of being able to disrupt with sound design, with sculpture, with painting, with photography, with video, with installation, with performance, and I feel like this is really just the beginning of what that disruption and resistance can continue to look like in terms of disability design and disability, visibility within the exhibition and museum space. So I'm super thankful that Mason and Alissa and Don and all the folks have been super supportive and have been super amplificatory when it comes to, maximizing like this disability experience. And so thankful to Andy, Robert, Andy Combs, Alex, Gwyneth, Indira, all of us that have been, working to, like I said, just working to make sure that we can continue to lead this conversation. So the bathroom is on, it's, if you go one floor, oh, actually, no. If you go down and then you make a right, you'll see the signs that say bathroom, yeah. And so it's just really exciting. And so right after I hop off, I'm gonna be sharing, the talk and the website with my students that are, like I said, experiencing art for the first time. And what better way to expose them to how disabled artists are able to unite and to come together to specifically lead and be at the center unapologetically. And that's another thing about this exhibition that's really amazing, is that usually we're kind of like, disabled artists, we're kind of like the extra artists that they just kind of pop in, or we have to kind of fight our way into these spaces. But the fact that this specific exhibition was led and centered, our joy and our culture and who we exist as humans, is a super huge deal for me.
And so, Jen, I mentioned that you are a co-curator of the exhibition, but you're also an artist. So if you would spend a second with your artist hat on, just describing your practice on your art and the piece in the shows, if you have that moment.
And so as I'm getting ready to hop off, I just definitely wanted to make sure that I centered disability joy in terms of being able to hold space for mothering as an act of resistance, and making sure that our community, the specifically the Black and Brown neurodivergent community, making sure that we can take up space, through graphic design, through photography. Those are my love languages, of course, collage as well. And it was great to be able to also design vinyl graphics that exist within the museum space on the outside of the museum space. So being able to kind of see that, that helps to kind of usher in and to kind of set the tone and the vibe, specifically with words that say Black disabled lives matter, disrupt and resist, using really bold and vibrant typography, again, to usher in, leadership, to usher in that voice of, resistance, creative resistance specifically. And so the piece that's in the show is centered on autistic joy, disability joy, that highlights my son, that highlights, who he is, and his joy, and specifically his ability to usher in so much love, to kind of help break and to shift that stigma of autism and what it looks like within the Black community. So it was really important that the colors that I chose, blues and blues, purples, pinks, and that were very kind of, gender neutral, and that also don't really specifically align themselves with autism awareness culture. And they, kind of are obsessed with the color blue. And so I wanted to make sure that I infused colors that were really vibrant and told the story of like a full spectrum of what autism is and what it can mean. So
thank you so much. Have a great class. Thank you for popping in. We really appreciate it.
Everybody, smiles. I love you so much.
Thank you. Love you. Have an awesome day. All right. Thank you all for indulging the out of order kind of things. I would like to officially welcome everyone to the artist talk of Disrupt and Resist, a love letter to the disabled community of showing up what it looks like to show up for each other. I'm Alissa Maru. If I didn't introduce myself to you, I'm the co-curator along with Jen of the exhibition, and I run Mason Exhibitions Arlington, which is one of 6 galleries that GMU has. I'm currently in Washington, D.C., but Mason does have a land acknowledgement where they recognize the Virginia tribes who have lovingly stewarded the lands of Rappahannock. I'm sorry for any mispronunciations. Pomonoke, Upper Mattapony, Chickahominy, Eastern Chickahominy, Nonsemond, Monacan, Mattapony, Patawomic, and Nottoway tribes in the past, present, and future. So Disrupt and Resist is an awesome, fabulous new exhibition that opens September 9th. It runs until November 11th. We are open from Thursday to Saturday, 12 to 5. Come on by. We're right across the street from the Virginia Square Metro station. And there is an accessibility guide on our website for those who want information on the physical space. So as Jennifer kind of mentioned, the community that she brought in for the show. So I've known Jen for a while as a personal friend, and so when I began the curatorial journey of trying to tackle a exhibition featuring the theme of disability, I called her more for just education. You know, I do not identify as disabled, and didn't feel that the offering that we gave should obviously have someone of the community helping to guide, steward, and make the tone and presence and community involved. So we're really happy to invite 7 contemporary artists who identify as disabled or neurodivergent into the space, and where the exhibition really dives into looking at advocacy through creative resistance and anti-ableist disruption. The exhibition amplifies ways for disabled artists to show up for themselves and each other, shining a light on their own lived experiences, and really showing different ways of justice, joy, belonging, inclusivity, and really pulling on elements of different ways to show that. So she mentioned, you know, we have sound, we have sculpture, we have photography, we have multimedia projects engaged, and really excited to invite the artists to come and share their practice and their story and what's going on, and parts of how they created their work, and how you can find about more of them. I do really want to acknowledge my whole team at Mason Exhibitions Arlington: Don Russell, Jeff Kenny, Yasmin Salem, Stephanie Grimm, who's our art librarian, who curated our library. There's a library as a part of the exhibition. So she really has done a great job doing that. And then Sophie Bay, who has really who's our social media manager, and so much more, who has really created a lot of the sensory elements that are offered as a part of the exhibition. We are all new to all of this, and we hope to make a lot more of what we do continue on for accessibility for the remainder of continuing exhibitions. For example, this exhibition, we incorporated Braille labels, which is a first for us. So and a lot of audio recordings and ways for everyone in any capacity to be able to receive the knowledge and engage with the works. So I wanted to thank Sophie for doing all of that work. And so I'm talking because we're here to hear the artist talk. So I wanted to invite Andy Slater up first, and he can share some about his work, and then I will play a piece of his in the show called Landing Site. So I wanted to welcome Andy to the stage.
Hey everybody. My name's Andy. Thanks for being here and sharing this space. I'll let you know what I look like in case you care. I'm a middle-aged white man with a big red and gray beard that is one of my favorite fidget spinners or stim toys. I've got red sunglasses on, and I don't know. I'm in my basement space, keeping it as dark as I can in order to save um, my eyesight for the day. I am blind. I'm also neurodivergent, and I don't stop moving. So feel free, if I am on your screen and I'm moving and giving you motion sickness, you can always look away. I'm totally cool with that. I created some uh some pieces. I created some sound pieces, and then also some sort of text and sound pieces, I guess, for this exhibition. Accessibility is always a part of my practice and process, and also just my way of engaging with art, especially visual art. Being somebody that is visually impaired. I went to art school. I didn't really focus on visual art because of my own attitude towards, like, not wanting to center, sight and image in the visual in my own world, right? Trying to navigate of, like, do I really need to look at art in order to engage with it? And that's kind of a big question that I ask myself, and that I like to ask other artists, is like, how do we describe what we did, what we created, outside of talking about how we do it. Like, when we're in, critiques or conversations, we talk a lot about how we made the work, but what is the work, and how do we sort of convey that through words? And so, like, one of the things that one of the main things with accessibility for blind folks with the visual or with art and stuff is, like, describing the image, right? So you have, image descriptions, and, and sometimes, like, visual descriptions of things that are, like film, or, like linear media and that sort of thing. And then also another thing that I like to do is do, like, descriptions of the sounds, like of my sound piece, and that kind of work that go beyond what might be considered, what we're used to with, like, captioning in film and stuff like that. So with all of the work in the show, there's been alternative text or image description written for the visual. And so and I love that. And there's so many different ways to describe art. And one of the things that I did with the my three paintings in the show, the series called Invisible Ink, where there's no image to look at, but there's descriptions of the work. So when I say paintings, there's three of them. There's Whose Day Is It? There's Landing Site, and another one whose name I can't remember right now. Witnesses. ADHD.
Yeah,
It affects your memory. I love it. So anyway, with those, it's sort of like, like, the work, given enough wall space, could take up wall space, so that when you are there, you're not really necessarily looking at anything, but you can read the wall text, or in this case, also there's the QR code that brings you to the text or the audio recording of the work. And so it's not only a way for me to sort of imagine what a piece would look like and kind of compose this description, which would then compose the produce the painting in your mind's eye, if that's something that you relate to. And so it's a way of going in and, critiquing the way that a lot of museums and galleries and institutions have thought of art and access, and then giving this opportunity and this sort of, like, example of, like, oh, this is a nice way of an introduction to image destruction, image description, from a perspective of a blind person who is kind of a jerk and is an absurdist and that sort of thing. So maybe we can play the Landing Site audio, and then I can quickly talk about the other work in the show. Is that cool?
Landing Site. 6 by 4 feet. Oil on canvas. 2020. In the center of this image is a white cube. Above it is a pitch black sky. The cube is bright enough to illuminate the ground before it. Inside of the cube lies a sleeping person. Their back is facing forward, and their features are hidden. Their feet are positioned on the left side of the cube, and their head on the right. They are draped in a short navy blue blanket. The blanket looks to be silk with a golden lantern design. The blanket does not cover the person's legs, and they are naked from the knees down. On the back of their left calf is a scar shaped like a chisel. The figure casts a faint shadow on the dirt outside of the cube. The dirt is a mix of yellow sand and dark soil, with bone-white chips layered within. In the sand, there are a series of drifts that form river-shaped lines that end in a blurry delta. The delta sand is dark and extends to the lower right corner of the painting. On the opposite side, the deep brown soil fades to a black shadow. The two bodies of sand and dirt meet in the middle, blending in a vertical zigzag pattern. From a further point of view, the small white chips in the soil appear like a constellation in the dirt.
Okay, and that was the wonderful and talented Solon Kelleher reading that text. And so, yeah, excuse me, that's what goes on in my brain. And hopefully it gives people the chance to think of a painting and not like look at it and digest it visually and just I don't know how blind or how sighted people often relate to visual things anymore. So this is kind of like my access point for that. And so, putting that in a museum and, maybe it's like something like some Duchamp kind of, like I said, absurdist weirdo thing, but it's more than just a gimmick or a bit to me. I mean, I'm very committed to the bit, but it's I hope that it makes a statement of what is visual art and that sort of thing, and kind of disrupting a space in a way that is kind of fun, and then resisting having to actually do something visual. Excuse me. I know that we don't have a whole lot of time, but I do have two other pieces. There's one that is a sound piece called RE, Your Prescription Has Been Delayed, which is it's composed of different screen reader voices, and screen reader is technology that blind people use to like read text and navigate the internet and that sort of thing. And if you're not familiar, it's probably native to all of your devices. You can figure that out, but maybe you've heard a synthesized voice speak to you before, right? Or speak to somebody else. And so I did a composition of multi-track, just a weird sound piece consisting of screen reader, different voices reading the same text, and the text is just a series of letters and numbers and things that are more rhythmic and sonic than they are literal. There's really no language, there's no words in it, and I think you can access that through the website as well. It does get loud, it does get weird, so if you don't want to listen, there's also a description of that sound piece, and it's kind of written in the way that Landing Site is, where it's not necessarily straightforward. It's maybe a little poetic and weird. And then there's also, you can see the text that I use, that everything read. It's like, the letter O repeated 1,000 times, and so the screen reader goes oh and drops in pitch, and it's just really fun. And it's also your prescription has been delayed. I think many of us can relate to that, especially if you're waiting for your ADHD meds or your anticonvulsants and that sort of thing. And the fear and the sort of frustration of when am I going to get my medication and kind of get back on, back on the ground here. And then there's another one that Alissa had suggested I do that's really fun, that I call echolalia, and it's a looping sound piece that I would think about every 15 minutes there's a short burst of the screen reader dialogue, sort of like a one-sided conversation talking about Funkadelic, Kraftwerk, Roger Troutman, Nucleus, and Hall & Oates, and it's just kind of fun. So if you're in the space and you hear some weird robot talking, feel free to have the conversation back. And I yield back my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, I'll just elaborate a little bit further on the echolalia piece. As Andy mentioned, I asked him to create a piece after speaking with him during our studio visit, because he was sharing that, like, he was in a gallery space or a museum space and had his screen reader out, and he was told that people were giving him, like, the side eye, hearing that robotic voice in that space, which usually was reserved for quiet solitude spaces. But I really thought it would be a great message and just nod to try to normalize these sounds in gallery and museum spaces. So I asked Annie to create this piece so we could have some interspersed, new normal. But yeah, thank you for sharing. We're gonna do. I'm gonna do a little bit like probably the wrong moderator thing, but I can open up because we're doing each artist having their time. So I can do like if anybody has a couple questions for Andy, we can do like 2 minutes of that, and then we will move on to I'll share about Finnegan Shannon. Does anybody have any questions for Andy? Yeah, speak now, forever hold your peace. All right. If not, you can also put them in the chat, and we will get to them at the end. So cool. Thank you, Andy. For Finnegan Shannon, Jen had introduced me to her, and I had fallen in love with some of the works that they did for on the High Line, really showcasing up in New York, kind of call outs that were very, very subtle along the walkway in the park. But they have 2 images in the show, and that it's twofold, and I'm really happy to have them as a long-term loan for the exhibition for the gallery spaces, really calling out providing access to sit and rest, to be in the space, and to provide seating, and also it has like some cool messaging to say. So the benches are bright blue, and the title of one is called "Do You Want Us Here or Not?" The text on the blue bench in white lettering says, "This exhibition has asked me to stand for too long. Sit if you agree." And the second one, same color, blue bench and white text, states, "It was hard to get here. Rest if you agree." And so I really appreciate the opportunity to provide rest and also engagement with this moment and practice of providing access for all to be able to come and hang out in the gallery and have some restful moments. So there'll be a part of the show's iterations for a couple of years to come. So I'm very pleased to incorporate this into the gallery space. We will also be featuring, I forgot to mention at the end, but this show will have a new iteration after November 11th at the Gillespie Gallery. So the works will move to Gillespie at the Fairfax campus, and have new iterations, and also probably some new members of this cool tribe here we have. Next, I'll just I'll share the works of Indira Allegra, who is a California-based artist. The picture that's up on the screen now, I'll read their description, the image description. A black and white photo of a light-skinned Black person with bold eyebrows, braids with an undercut, a septum piercing, and dangling earrings. They wear a black turtleneck shirt, dark lipstick, and chipped nail polish. And so for Indira, we're featuring 5 photography works, and Indira has a practice that really physically weaves in performance photography, texture, and words into their work. They have built a beautiful practice of creating site-specific performances, pulling from history of the land and physical space, and really a living structure they feel that a living structure can be performed as a song, a memorial, a text movement of human and non-human behavior. So the works that we show are a series that is called Advance Body Warp, and they are physically moving their body through a weaving loom. So they have a practice of, like I mentioned, weaving and texture, and they're really incorporating technology now. I'll put a link to their website for a cool new piece of work that they're doing called texturing, where they're weaving in prompts that we all can provide, of stories, past reclamations, and words, and it's a media piece that updates every 7 seconds or so. So new images are created that are woven in with image and work and text and fiber, but it's a visual piece, and it's stunning. So I will drop that on the link for future investigations. But really excited to have this work in the show, and just really showcasing the physical taxing on a body, and really incorporating their physical body into their weaving practice with photography for this exhibition and series. And fantastic. And next I invite Robert Andy Combs to please share his work and stories and all that good stuff.
Hello.
Thank you. There we go. Let me hear you now.
I'm Robert Andy Coombs. I am a white male with blue eyes and brown hair. I'm wearing a white t-shirt, and I'm in my apartment in sunny Pensacola. So I sustained a spinal cord injury in my 3rd year of undergraduate at Kendall College of Art and Design. I was studying photography, and I was a gymnast, and I was training a double backflip on a trampoline and ended up landing on the back of my neck. When I was in rehab for my injury, I quickly realized that disability and sexuality was not something that my medical professionals were equipped to talk about in detail, specifically when it came to gay sex. So needless to say, I had to do a lot of research on my own, whether it was scouring the internet or trying to find some visual representations of disability and sexuality, despite what kind of what sexuality it was. I just wanted to know what disability and sex looked like, and well, quickly found out there wasn't a lot of representation, and so I had to do a lot of experimentation on my own, figuring out how my body worked, and then also kind of asking, other men with spinal cord injuries what they do, how they kind of navigate. And so that's really where CryptFag, which is where these images are from, really came to be. After about 10 years of experimenting and kind of figuring out my body, I started making these images, and was really inspired kind of by like Instagram and Twitter, where the insta gays and that culture of you know, kind of showing your body off, came to, you know, it like really inspired me. So I, you know, wanted to kind of take these themes and incorporate my disability into it. And then it kind of evolved from there as well. And so the images are printed on a very glossy metallic paper, which I really love, because it really creates more depth in the image, and like the colors pop way more, and also like the skin has this like almost 3D like pearl effect that just like, I don't know, it just makes the skin look so beautiful on the images. So yeah, do you want me to talk about some images in particular? Yeah,
If you have a favorite, yes, and I
Yeah.
will validate Robert Andy's choice of paper. You know, with photography in the gallery, sometimes with shiny paper, you get very reflective. It is gorgeous. It's like creamy. You know, when you come in, we have a picture of Robert Andy's right when you come in. It's the eyes like blue like the Atlantic. And you come in, you're staring at his eyes, and it's gorgeous. Everything is delicious. I don't have a better word for for the images and paper than that. If you have a favorite piece, and then I have some questions or comments, and then I will invite others to ask theirs as well.
Yeah, so with my images overall, you know, I really kind of focus on it. It started mainly with sex, just because I wanted to show, you know, in-depth images of what sex looks like, and it's especially, you know, with someone who's a wheelchair user. And then, you know, you know, I'm creating a majority of this work while I was in my master's degree at Yale. So, you know, I'm also like, you know, figuring out subconsciously what all of this means. And so it's really about you know, intimacy and kind of interabled relationships, and you know, sex and fetish, and because a lot of, you know, online dating these days, or just kind of when able-bodied, you know, kind of view disabilities is, you know, how your body physically functions. And it's like, so I get comments like, you know, does your dick work? How do you, you know, how do you have sex? Or, you know, do you come, you know? And so it's always you know, heavily focused on like how your body functions, rather than, you know, what I like about sex. So yeah, it just fetish, caregiving, yeah, and it just kind of encompasses kind of everything with a physical disability.
Yeah, and I'll say just curatorial note. I mean, you were one of the first artists that I was introduced to by a colleague when I was starting to, you know, dig into this topic, and starting to meet some of the community. And you know, your images really answered my question. Like you said, you know, I was wondering, like, and you answered the questions that I never would ask anybody out loud. You know, I was like, well, if it's a wheelchair, you know, how do they have sex? Or like, you know, how's it going on? And I encourage you guys to visit Robert Andy's full portfolio for some images. There are images that that you know go further and showcase the community and fetish and sex, because I think it's question. Like I said, you answer the questions that I would never ask anybody out loud, and I thought that it was supremely important to show that representation and maybe help answer the questions for others if I had the same. And so for you, and I think probably would like to know, I mean, you're in most of the images, so how do you run your practice? How are you directing your staging and image creation?
Yeah. Yeah, so I really don't work any different than like any like commercial photographer. So I usually work with an assistant or two. Honestly, like my friends help me out all the time, whether they're, you know, they have knowledge about photography or not. Like, I just kind of coach them through it. So they, kind of physically help me. But then, I'm like you said, I'm in the images, so I'm constantly like thinking about lighting, like, where the light is coming from, composition, and just kind of having, directing my assistant, where to go, what to photograph, how to photograph, changing the settings, and also like reviewing the images in real time just to make sure, it's in focus, or, I'm getting the image that I want. So, and I usually go into photographing with a specific image in mind, with room to kind of experiment and see, if there's anything new or different, that I can kind of express in that moment.
Awesome. Does anybody else have questions for Robert Andy?
This is Alex speaking. I have a question. So Robert, Andy, you talked about that often it's and it feels evident in your images that community is really involved, community or friendship and connection, whether it's implying like a casual sex relationships or like long reiterating relationships. They're really present. So I know that you just shared while we were getting here that you're tuning in from Pensacola, that you just relocated. How does your location and like your location to community, do you anticipate that shifting your work, or does your community like travel to you? I'm curious.
Yeah, fortunately, like my disability does require a lot of care. So when, finding a new community and finding new support, my disability kind of vets, new friendships and stuff. So when I do, find a new friend, it's usually like a higher quality caliber than, just fleeting, relationships, and usually those people stick around more often, which is great. But establishing like a good, community takes time, and stuff like that. But yeah, ever, when I first got injured, I realized really quickly, like, and kind of have always worked with a creative community. And now it's just, I think people are afraid of losing their identity or, individual self. And I've kind of just embraced that, like working with a community, like not only for like, just like my day-to-day stuff. But also like I thrive creatively when it comes to collaborating with other people. But yeah, my whole life is collaborative, and I just kind of lean into that, embrace that, and it really shows in my images. That sense of care and community, and these amazing relationships I get to have with complete strangers, in like a hookup, or if I need something out in public and I'm by myself, I don't hesitate to ask. But also, these amazing relationships I get to have with friends and families and lovers that not everyone gets to have, or they're so afraid to have, really. So thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Thank you for your response.
Anybody else have a question for Robert and Andy? I'll share that the images that I chose are really segmenting, I don't know, like segments of I think Robert's practice. So my personal favorite is They See Us Rolling, and it's an image of Robert Andy in a moving on the street, and a friend is like in a roller skates, or some kind of like wheeled device, and they're like, it's like, it reminds me of like, someone like holding on to like a bus or a train, and like, hitching a ride, but really just the joy and community and like the yes for like this moment just really encapsulates the community that you have around you, that supports you and that you have fun with. And I really appreciate, kind of like living that visual joy.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
I'm Sophie. Hello, Andy. I have a question for you. So I studied photography as my undergraduate, and I was wondering, like, which theme are you eager to explore next?
Oh man, I grew up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and so I've lived kind of in the city, in like a city area for the past like you know uh 20 years. So Pensacola is a little bit more rural, and I think kind of exploring a little bit more of nature and disability and kind of the natural world, along with not only my wheelchair, but like my wheelchair and technology, but also like my body, and I when I was in Michigan, I kind of played around with that a little bit. But I think, I'm gonna kind of, explore a little bit more of that nature and kind of my relationship to it. So I think that's where I'm gonna figure out next, I think. So, and I think maybe now that I'm, closer to family, I might explore that, whether it's just for myself, or, if if I want to show that work. So I like to keep some things private, but yeah, who knows?
Yes, thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Last chance. No, not last chance, but before we move on to hear from Alex Veloso. So we have 3 works of Alex's in the show. One is a media piece called Breath Play, and 2 are in the gallery. So I invite them to share, and then we can play a snippet of the media work. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks. That sounds great. This is Alex speaking. My name is Alex Palazzo. A brief visual description. I'm a white trans person with dark brown hair that's short and has its long parts woven up right now in a tan room with plants behind me and with a light brown long sleeve shirt on. And so things that I was thinking about in the works that are in this show, something that I think, one of the ways I locate inside of disability is with chronic illness that has been challenging to diagnose and challenging to treat and flares. And so one of the things, part of my experience inside of that is needing to be hyper aware of sensations in my body and scanning my body. And along with scanning and being hyper aware of how sensations are moving through my body and sensations of illness, of like how much ability I'm going to have, how much capacity I'll have to move in a space. That also translates to reckoning with architectural spaces often, and reckoning and immediately mapping and noting what spaces are indicating room for rest or room for holding on or supports, and what supports are in the room. So these works have they have rubber in them, which often I think about as like, or I use it as a material, as a tactile material that it often invites or indicates touch. It also indicates give. So this cane, the pink rubber cane, it can be picked up. It's on its support. The object supporting it, the stand, is a bright blue lucite, kind of candy feeling. The long cane is like exaggeratedly long. It slopes, it droops, it's made out of rubber, and when picked up, it has an quality of destabilizing you vestibularly. So it starts to distort itself, or it also starts to bend, or getting it to stand so that the stopper hits the ground becomes this teetering quality. So it starts to relate both to this extension of the body. It's an extension of, it ends up being like, it also extends as this long phallus. It kind of has a head to it. It extends as this extension of the access device, as an extension of how flesh and body is moving through space. And it extends thinking about the sensory experience of how stabilizing or destabilizing one is in their body. With the speculative grab bars, I take this notion, and I'm still interested, I'm quite interested in access devices and markers of access in space, and rather than recreating them, kind of subverting some of the materials that are used for them. So all the connection hardware on this piece are blue and kind of like a soft white cloudy rubber that connects. So almost it's drilled into the wall, and it also has like a suction feeling around. And when you touch the grab bars, they shift with your weight. So there's this responsiveness of both an extension of the body as this object that is supporting you, or as this object that is supporting how someone's moving, and also an extension of the architectural space or the support system of the space being another body that is moving in tandem. With this piece, with speculative grab bar, I like to think about the way a disabled body, or a body that needs more physical devices in a space, or physical markers of access in a space, is scored into that space. So whether a sick body is pushed towards the edge with like the one bench that's offered, or the only time I'm seeing grab bars are to get up and down from using a toilet. And that's the moment that like support is offered for the most basic bodily functions. And so in thinking about this like expansion of access and support, and almost like a speculative or building a world inside of a brilliance and a sociality around disability, I was thinking about grab bars that both talk about socializing together, so like that there could be support for multiple people around one place, that there could be a social quality and centering a disabled social quality, and also that there is that the bars are not just for the most direct and almost austere of motions, up, down, angled, it like being able to move from a diagonal space, and instead could also talk about dance, and could talk about a support that gets to like dream bigger than just being able to use the bathroom, or get up from a seated position. Can we play some of breath play, and then I can speak on it? Maybe we can make it a little bigger. This is a 20-minute cut, so I think we can pause it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want us to jump to the end so people can kind of see the
Yeah.
end result, or
The end result or skipping around is fine, even having
Okay.
it silently on, and we can talk about it. Cool. And can we turn off the sound? Awesome. So this piece, Breath Play, was also thinking about sensation and the sexualization or kink sensation and that connection to pain and illness, pain and chronic illness, and specifically one of the things I wanted to explore was thinking about air and thinking about breath and thinking about how it was making how I was moving around with a breathlessness because of the way illness it has functioned on my body. And so this piece started with just the physical research prompt for myself of I wanted to see how I would move and if it would make some fluid movements in a room full of balloons. And so I started making myself a latex costume. So I'm in like a latex like t-shirt cut that I made and latex shorts. And I just had imagined when I had formulated this piece, I was like, oh, you know what? I want to move through. I want to see how these vessels of air are gonna change how I can move. And it was interesting in the actual making. It ended up being like 3 hours in this space. And in the actual making of the performance, which was also in kind of season 1 of COVID. So a moment that like breath was highly charged. And that a moment that I was going to perform alone and perform for a camera to try and work out these thoughts. And so what ended up coming up immediately was actually that it was so painful that like that moving through, rather than I was thinking it was just going to make it was going to start making a course and making these different, maybe circular motions of me dancing with moving through and moving back and forth with my cane and this like constricted space. And instead, there was so much popping, like no matter what, there was going to be popping, and the sound had such an intensity around my body, and also like the feeling of them popping on my skin. And so it became this moment of where breath and the volume of breath is so present in the room, and my out of breathness becomes present throughout the performance and throughout the footage. And a quality of pain, but also a kink fetish around like latex is clearly really present. And so latex on latex, and these, I think, latex on latex and like the sounds of that, and also the movement of that, and how it was affecting a body or even determining my body in space. And so all these things, I think, start to trouble the connection between sensations of illness and sensations of kink, or sensations of play, or sensations that are opted into, and how being in a disabled body sometimes attunes or heightens an awareness around sensation, or even an interest or curiosity in sensation, because it also troubles what is a good sensation and what is a bad sensation. Things aren't really working in that binary as often in my physical experience. Yeah, those are the pieces. I'm so happy to be included in this lineup of artists, and so excited to be in conversation with you all, and would welcome any questions.
Hey, it's Andy. I do have a question. Hopefully, you've got a quick answer, because I don't want to take up too much time. But so you were in a space and there was a bunch of balloons everywhere, and so that's what that popping sound was, correct?
Yes.
And is it, how many balloons would you say at the beginning?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. I'm sorry I could have given more context
Oh,
or
it's
more
okay.
visual context for it. So they're all like a clear latex balloons, and
Hmm.
the latex outfit that the latex that I'm wearing is also the same kind of color, like kind of like condoms.
Cool.
And there's about, I think when making this, I think there were about 600 balloons filling, but it's a small space. So the room is a little bit, it's like it probably was like 7 feet by 7 feet, maybe
Wow.
maybe 9 feet by 9 feet. So the balloons are really filling up towards, like, I'm standing for parts of the performance and moving through them, and then I change levels quite often. And when standing there, I'm surrounded by them at least over my head or
Mhm.
to the top of my head.
And you also had your cane?
Yeah, I use it. I have a purple cane that I use that is my kind of daily access device. And so that is also moving and pushing through them.
Can I tell you what I thought it was?
Yes, please.
I thought it was somebody in a storage locker space seeking shelter from a hurricane and barricading the wall. Like every time I heard something pop, I thought was you moving like a big box in front of like the door so that the hurricane wouldn't bust through. So um maybe a completely different scenario, or maybe not. Maybe there is some kind of connection to that. But thank you for the visual description because um yeah, I don't know, it's pretty great.
Yeah, also like,
I love the title too.
thank you. Thank you. No, that's cool. That's also really cool to hear this this notion of urgency in what you were hearing, like even in a very different scenario.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. How did your body respond after creating this piece?
Yeah, pretty bad. um my body, one of the things I list in terms of any performance works is, when I list the duration, I'll list the minutes that, like, the edit or whatever edit I give in terms of like video duration is, and then I list the rest period afterwards, because I think that that's an important part of duration when we're thinking about performance that is often left out. And so I believe that after this one, I think I was bedridden for like 5 days. And that's like, that wasn't how I was going into it. It's not my interest to recreate like endurance pieces that kind of follow in an image of ableism and what the body can do. It's actually just a material reality of my body, is that if I do something, like I wanted to explore this, and I did calculations, and some of those calculations are that my body will be out of commission for a time after. And this one also like ended up kind of putting me into, I think because it was a little bit of, it was an exertion for me, put my body into a flare. That was then part of part of my moving through the world afterwards.
And knowing how your body responds to performative work, is this going to be something that you continue to do in the future to highlight this, or I like, what are your interests for your next bodies of work?
Yeah. I don't think the stakes of my work are in, I don't think I find it very interesting on my body to blow it out for it to be. But I do think, like, a recent show that I did was titled Crip Algebra, and I do think that there are always these calculations that disabled folks are making, and I think probably all flesh-bodied people are making, but sometimes the stakes are higher, or the stakes are different, exaggerated sometimes inside of illness, in my experience. And so I think working things out physically and doing like this really felt like a piece that I started as just some physical research where I was like, I want to see how my body will move. I want to see if I will. I was really excited about slithering through like this idea of slithering and slinking and how it changed the way I was in my joints, and would it like support, or would it actually make a lot of abrupt changes from the popping or from the changing in space. And I think being invested in, like, I'm invested in a physical experience of objects and of performance, and it shows in like the sculpture work that I make, in terms of like things being tactile and things often relating to the way I'm moving in my studio and the supports I use. And I think the same thing comes up in performance. I think what changes how I approach it in the future, and also thinking about sustainability and what is actually most important for being in my body and thinking in my studio and in my practice is that I can document them, and the performances don't always have to be live, or the performances don't have to depend on sometimes what it takes out on my body. And the same thing about sculptures, that they can be activated, they can have like a facilitation, whether my body can be present or possible for it at that point. Thank you. It's nice to articulate.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I had to learn some Jennifer give me some, like, I don't know what the anecdotal things, and she's like, yeah, there's a thing called disability time, and it's really accounting for moments of illness, or having to step away from your practice and kind of like taking care of your body. I'm like, I know about CP time. Disability time was a new one for me. But yeah, thank you. Does anybody have questions for Alex as well? All right, cool. All right, well, good. I will introduce our next and final artist of the show, Gwyneth Van Leeuwen, who we have two pieces of work from. One is a multimedia piece that's actually on the outside of the gallery. We have a 40-foot media screen in the breezeway adjacent to the gallery, and then we have a piece that we did, like I'm calling it art by proxy in the in the gallery, and I'll let her explain a little bit more about how that came. But welcome, Gwyneth.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm Gwyneth, they and she pronouns, and I'm zooming in from the land of the Ojibwe, the Potawatomi, and the Odawa people, also known as Ann Arbor, Michigan. I am a peachish-skinned, middle-aged, non-binary presenting person with orange short hair and a saffron-colored sweater, with my living room behind me is a bit cluttered, as all artist spaces should be, right? So the piece that you were referring to, Alissa, I think is the one on the far right. I don't know if you can zoom on it, because I don't have an image of that one, but I was going to share a screen for the other ones. Yeah, so probably not, but I'll give a quick image description. It's a traffic barrel, which is one of the orange and reflective striped cones that stands attention and in place, in our place of caution, signaling vehicular danger, and I think of as a witness to our oversped culture that can often end in something like what happened to me on the third day of grad school, which was an accident. Also part of a road rage incident that was body against car. So I'm going to quickly share my, let's see. Oh, well, quickly.
Oh,
Right.
sorry. If you want to, no, you're fine. If you want to share, Sue, can you
Oh
stop
yeah,
sharing your
it
screen?
should work. It should work.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not it's never as simple as it should be.
Never.
So I think, Sue, if, oh, I figured it out. Yay. Thank you. I was hit, crushed, pinned to a building by a car as a pedestrian, and as a result, I use these cones as coping mechanisms, because I think of them as little beings, and they each have their own personality and record of what can and does happen to bodies. We are all just body, like skin sacks, like hurtling through space, I think. So I'm not sure if that's, it's always hard for me to tell what you're looking
We
at.
can see your screen. We see you kind of bouncing around.
Oh,
from
how
the
images.
Images, yes.
Yes, my messy, as I mentioned,
your
everything should be messy.
interlayers of how you're
Layers.
organized.
Yeah, so that may be the best way to see it. Did it come up big or bigger? No?
No, we see them inside like a file.
Oh, how funny. Okay. Well, so I'm going to stop the share, and then if you can just pull up the thing. The problem is that it's a video, and this is actually not video work. So it's
We can play the video. Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
from the website.
Okay. Actually, don't take the screen away from me yet. Oh, yeah, you got something. So yeah, we created this one together, really highlighting the places where vehicular damage might happen. But again, really the idea of TAB, which is also known as temporarily able-bodied, meaning that we are all just, again, vulnerable bodies. And I got like even some faculty, I'll say, said things like, well, now you'll have something to make artwork about, right? So the difficulty holding people's pain, the challenge of really holding another's pain is a part of my work. And so, yeah, I think this actually works, Alissa, with that, the idea of the love letters to the disability community, when we get things like unsolicited advice and sort of the silver lining making and that sort of meaning making from others. That's I find problematic. Yeah, so sure, we can look at it a little bit this way, sure. So is it possible to make those bigger? These are kind of, so when they're in gallery, they tend to be like large painterly objects, right? So they're photographic images, and I am well, I wouldn't say I am the subject. I make the work as a phenomenologist, right? So I find these cones and pluck them from dangerous spaces, and then light them with car headlights. And I usually hold the trigger release in my mouth or under a foot or something, and then photograph my body interacting with them in many interesting ways. This cone in particular, I was very interested in the inside of it. So again, for image description, since I don't have it as a still image, we are looking at one of those barrels in a dark space, really like sort of cast into the pitch blackness on the asphalt with my body draped, or exploring diving in or out of those images or barrels. So yeah, I think that covers this this Bear Witness project that I still collect the cones. I still love looking at them. I love like thinking, oh, that one's flaccid and it just like has deflated its virginity, or or masculinity or whatever, like you can sort of see these this characteristics sort of developing as or you see one that just looks really naive. You see a cone that's just sadly naive. And so yeah, I guess that's part of my practice. So yeah, and I did want to share, let's see. Oh, I was going to press the timer. Yeah, should I pause there or just introduce the last bit of my work?
No, yeah, please. You can share about your last bit, your work.
Sure. Okay. So one of the directions I've sort of transitioned into is small acts of I would say everyday disruptions of what I think of as the ordinary, which is a sick system. I just got some feedback actually from a presentation. Somebody was really terribly offended by this work, and I'm intrigued. So I thought I really wanted to share it again. And so I spend a lot of time in medical waiting spaces, and especially in the second chamber of a doctor's office, right? So we have the first waiting room, and now as you kind of perform and become and sink into the idea of what it means to be a patient and how you are going to perform yourself, you sit there in waiting. And so during that time, I quote misbehave. So I'll pull the things off the walls, inflate the blood pressure cuff around my nose, and obviously I clean things. I sing into the otoscope. I'll have a little gong playing on the chrome tables, and then photograph those acts. I've had temper tantrums on the floor, and I recently found a fantastic like a anatomic spine shape thing that I made into a trunk, and oh, it was so much fun. So I have fun, right? And fun is really important to me. Play is really important to me, and it's humorous and it's irreverent. And I think that is sometimes missing in our disruptions. And so the person, I'm just going to out the comment, was about hijinks and how those are, destructive. And I was thinking about that. So these destructive hijinks, I think, are so important. I photograph them, put them in a book, put them in the waiting rooms, and just gift them to the waiting rooms. I have a little sticker that says "waiting room copy," please leave in the waiting room. And so these gifted books, maybe somebody will find and think, oh wait, like this is an ideologic space. Like maybe there's ideology here that I could poke holes in one way or another. So I just want to raise questions. And I think a lot of our work tends to answer questions and tries to like make statements. I don't like artist statements as much as artist questions. And so, yeah, my disruption is playful, humorous, and just, yeah, like, I don't know, why not be wacky? I am a clown at heart. And yeah, my favorite red nose is a pill bottle, So that's a little bit of a shift from the other work. That's why I wanted to share screen. It's quite different. But yeah, just to get an idea, I'm sure you can imagine some of the things. I hope you can imagine some of the things you could do in doctors' offices. And if I haven't mentioned them, think of new ones and try them at home or at the doctor. Yes. I welcome questions.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
as
you,
I
Gwen.
mentioned.
Yeah. Anybody, other artists, anybody have questions, especially about this humor thing? I gotta know more about these tantrums. This is artist talk, but it's also an engagement, you guys. Anybody have questions? I know I do. Andy does.
I have well, just a comment on that last bit about the waiting rooms and stuff. I love that. I was just cracking up because I like to do that. So I'm blind and I'm a white cane user, and I also do some like echolocation stuff. Everybody's always looking at me anyway, so why not perform? And so if there is something in the way in the doctor's office, I'll bang it with my cane and it'll freak everybody out because they don't realize that I'm actually quite docile with it, right? But all of the time that I'm ever sitting waiting for the doctor, like you said, like this, what was it, the second tier or whatever, like in the airlock or whatever, after the second waiting room after the first waiting room, and it seems like you're in there forever and it's quiet, and then you get the knock on the door and somebody comes in, and I've always thought, like, what could I do? I am bored. What do I do? What do I do? And now I'm gonna like actually take that even more seriously, and like the word you use, hijinks, it might ensue. I really love just how playful that whole idea is, and yeah, if somebody got offended by it, I don't know, screw them, they're no fun. But I just wanted to say that because it made me really happy.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, this is Gwyneth. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I can't feel free to send me an email and tell me what you've done, or just ephemeral art is cool too. Just like I love the making of sounds. I actually, one of my favorite plays, when you said, Alex, when you said breath play, one of my favorite plays is just to make audible sighs and just like acknowledge, yeah, like we're bodies and we get tired, and I'm a disabled, chronically ill person with pain, and we are all bodies. And so if I want to go, ugh, people look at me like, what's wrong with her? But you know what, like I have feelings too, right? So if I gotta fart, let it out. If you're in that little chamber, make farting noise. Just, there are lots of great ways to make farting noises. You could bring a farting machine. I think it's so important to acknowledge we are bodies. And I don't believe in living in my body. I live my body. I am my body. And so I think that's important. Yeah, we make an impact, and things make an impact on us. So yeah, and yeah, I love that. Yeah, bump into things, make noise, make breath sounds. It's all possible.
It's like if they didn't want us there, then they want us there, but why did they put all that stuff everywhere, right?
Mwah.
They want you to bump into it. So if someone go ahead, Sophie. Yeah,
I'm Sophie. So I have a question about the love lettercon. So do you have any expectation regarding the message the visitor will send with us, like share with us in the lettercon? So can I ask, what kind of story are you anticipating from visitors, or yeah?
Yes, thank you. Alissa and I worked on this together. I think things like stories of near misses, stories of appreciation, and stories of like, just, I don't know, we get angry too. That's an important part of this whole process. And I think, yeah, somehow we dismiss anger. If you want to tear the paper up and like put little pieces in there, or like, I don't know, I can't suggest burning anything in there because it's the gallery. So Alissa, I promise not to suggest that hijinks. But yeah, I mean, like, I think we not that we underuse curses, but I think, there's a lot stored in my body about what happened to it, and I think that sometimes that needs to come out as anger. There's a lot, and I grew up as a person with illness, and I have a lot of anger, and yeah, so that could come out, and yeah, so I guess it's all of the above. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Yeah. And just to give context too for the love letter, so the cone in the gallery, you have a prompt in the gallery for and paper and pen for visitors to come and leave a message, engage with us, that we probably that we, if allowed, we'll be able to share on our socials, and also just kind of as a way to interact with Gwyneth's work and this piece, and for some reflection of opportunity to reflect on near misses, new or old fears, and any kind of, like she said, like anything of solidarity or disruption within the community. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll have questions for Gwyneth.
Alissa, we have a question in the Q&A chat.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it?
Please. I don't think I
Yeah,
see it.
it's from Cheryl Edwards. So, do you find that in your art making practice that it facilitates healing within your body?
Yeah, that's a great question. I used to be really resistant to the idea of healing work. Like when people would say, oh, that must be healing or therapeutic, I would think they were dismissing or denigrating my work because it was like art therapeutic and less art, like quote, high art. And now I've learned that we need to break that down and say, yeah, like all art is healing, right? I mean, if I'm making work, it's always about me, because I think even if it's somebody else is the subject, you're always investing yourself in it. And of course, when you invest yourself and you make work, I think you heal. So I think that was maybe too global, but also, yeah, I would say there are a couple things. Also, I would say there's a wild thing, a little bit like Alex, I was relating to your durational performance, because these the makings of these cone images were quite durational, and I realized later, like, what did I do? How did I possibly get my body into that position with the pains that I have? Or how could I have stood to do that? And so being in flow, in an artist's like creative flow, is kind of a high. It's so that is a healing practice too, to sort of be able to transcend. Oh, that sounds that's I'm saying this with caution, but something like transcend what I thought was my limitations, because in flow I just kind of lose track of self, other, and all of the other binaries that that harm us, that harm me.
And I actually be curious to hear from other artists too. I want to open up the floor to questions to any artist, but since folks have come in at any time. But the exhibition previous to Disrupt and Resist was actually titled Edges of What I Feel, and it was a group of artists that stated that they use art as a way to heal their traumas. So I'm curious if, so I guess the same question to anybody, artist that wants to respond. Is there any healing moments of your practice, or is this, do you feel that it's more of advocacy awareness, on the other side?
I think that when you are working in your practice, as you go deeper, you're going to find an uncomfortability. And I refer to those as wounds, not so much as art therapy, but I think it's all a process to facilitate growth and evolution. So I find like during the pandemic, I found myself with the agency of wanting to heal my vacancies. And so I never saw it as a categorization of high art or low art or whatever. It was just authentic. So I was trying to speak my truth through my visual language and be authentic. So you all have so much courage. You inspired me.
And who are you, Cheryl? They you spoke, but you didn't say who you were.
I'm an artist in DC.
A fabulous one, and she's a previous artist that's been shown with Mason exhibitions as well. But yes.
Hey, it's Andy. I wanted to say something. I don't know if anybody else, this might ask another question, is I don't know so much about healing other than like satisfaction. Often it's like I think maybe creating stuff is just something that I have to do and that sort of thing. But with my work and the work that's in the show particularly is I do a lot of like preemptive care, I guess, by having like all of the accessibility, all of the access that I can put into the piece being part of the piece and being delivered with the piece. I've been in a lot of situations in the past and also currently where my access rider or my accommodation requests that aren't just for me but for the rest of the blind community are often overlooked, either because people don't get it or they don't care or it's an oversight because of whatever. But so when I cook that into the work, I at least know that it will be presented with it, and that that just saves me so much stress and anxiety, and then what could probably be trauma if if access is left up to somebody who has a million other things going on and there's no real way of solidifying that it's going to happen. As I don't want to speak for everybody, but as disabled artists who relies a lot on access and community and solidarity and stuff, if the access isn't there in the show or however my art is presented, and I'm not actually accountable for making that happen and it's not my responsibility, I will still feel like it's my responsibility and my accountability because I'm very committed to my convictions. And so anyway, doing that is kind of like my way of saving myself from having to heal from trauma. I mean, it's still working through it, but kind of like, I guess, preemptively fighting it. And I don't know if that's anything that anybody else thinks of. I feel like it's sometimes gotten in the way of my process, but at this point, it's very important. End of thought.
Thank you. Anyone else or other questions for any of the artists?
This is Gwyneth. If I could just say something towards what you were saying, Andy. I'm not sure if I am quite on the full track, but there's something about when I present my work and step back. And I've created the container, right? There's something about having crafted the container that I feel as in my disabled experience, I often feel like my container space has been disrupted, or I don't have a sense of agency of how I am seen or interacted with, and my body is interacted with, for example, medically, that sort of thing, right? So I don't know. There's something, actually, I'm not sure if I'm following what you were saying, but yeah, there's something really like an empowerment. I guess we didn't quite touch on empowerment, but there is an empowerment in putting the work and saying like, this is how I want to be seen. this is, because I often feel unseen in a medical setting, for example. This is, or even, you know, I'm not seen as a, you know, I was desexualized when instantly in the accident, right? Like I can relate maybe, Robert, Andy, what you were talking about maybe. So yeah, I want to be seen. I think a lot of art is about being seen. And so like structuring and crafting how you are seen is an empowerment. I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels powerful to me.
Yeah, controlling the narrative is, I think, yeah, like I agree. And I wanted to also clarify that when I said that I was going through this kind of stuff currently, it is not with this show. I wanted to be very clear that it's not with the show here that we're talking about. It's something else, because this has been a really great experience, and I wanted to just mention that publicly, because in the past there's been some crash and burn stuff, and I don't want to trauma dump or anything like that, but yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we've really learned so much, and really honestly, really intend to really make this a part of the crypto practice and the physical space that we provide going forward. You know, I, as a non-disabled identifying person, I had to really jump in and learn so much. And I apologize to everybody if I've ever made any everything, but we are here for feedback, and would love to know more, and love to really incorporate this into the physical space and to the curatorial practices that we do. So thank you. Awesome. All right. Any I guess if anybody, if artists want to take this time to plug anything that they're doing next to support each other, you know, I really wanted to intend for this exhibition to be everyone has a show that they're all over, but I really wanted to be a liaison or an aid for growing any opportunity for community amongst artists. And so if any artist has anything for each other, or also just wanted to leave opportunity for all of you to share anything that we can support you on next.
This is Gwyneth. If anyone is interested in play that is embodied, I am a facilitator of something called Interplay. And I am actively trying to crip our space such that it would be more disability inclusive and friendly. It is interplay.org is the URL, if that's helpful to put in the chat. And if you go there, there are events around the world and many Zoom virtual type plays. It's what we call an active, creative way to unlock the wisdom of the body, and it involves incremental, playful, community building activities, and then noticing, and then activities, and then noticing, and it's really fun. So, yeah.
Cool. I just dropped the link in the chat for anybody if they're curious to know more. All right.
Can I say something?
Absolutely, please.
Hi, my name is Sue. I was the assistant for this artist talk. I really enjoyed this talk. I think this show is not about ability or disability. I think it's all about, you know, discovering new perspectives and discovering new art and new senses. You know, I think we tend to divide our senses, you know, when we appreciate art, but I think there are great possibilities between different senses. So I really enjoyed this talk. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Sue. Appreciate it. Totally agree. All right, I'm gonna start plugging some things coming up for Mason next, but wanted to give any artists the platform to share anything before I move on.
This is Alex Veloso speaking. I have a show. I'm part of a show at Vox Populi in Philly in October, and part of a series of workshops called Teaching at the End of Times. And the workshop that I'm presenting is going to be on, it's going to be called Club Bed, and it's thinking about dance and a crip horizontality.
Club Bed. Whoop, whoop.
And I've got two exhibitions, or one exhibition and performance coming up, if I may. On September 30th is the opening of the Leonardo Cryptech show called Experimental Art, Access, and Technology. It is at the Beale Center at UC Irvine. The show, there's a virtual gallery and that sort of thing if you can't make it there. And that's a group show with 4 other disabled artists, Olivia Ting, Josephine Sales, Mish Fradkin, and Carmen Papalia, and myself. And I've got an installation there. And then the beginning of October, there's the Melbourne Fringe Festival. I've done some sound design and composing for a performance called Derelicts in Derelict in Uncharted Space, which is a disabled, created, and performed sort of a dance performance based on Star Trek original series episode called In Truth, Is There No Beauty, which featured some blind characters and that sort of thing. And there's a million multiple layers of accessibility in this performance. It's all cool, and it's great, and it's going to be performed at Chunky Move Theater and the Melbourne Fringe Festival, and there will be like live screenings or like virtual online screenings of it. If anyone's interested, you can find that online, I guess. And that's really cool, and that's really weird. And so thank you for letting me mention that.
Often be cool and weird. All right, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna plug stuff at the gallery. So Mason exhibitions, the Disrupt and Resist exhibition will be up until November 11th. We're open from 12 to 5 every Thursday through Saturday. Up next for programming, we are going to be working with the Arlington Public Library once a month and doing ASL story time. So a librarian from the library will come into the gallery, and we'll be also accompanying the story time with American Sign Language. So kid friendly, all friendly, everybody friendly. And they'll be reading story time on books that feature accessibility and justice and disability. That's on the next and first one is September 21st at 2 p.m. And then up next, we'll be having a music night in the gallery. It's like a hang out, bring a chair, bring a whatever makes you comfortable into the space. And we'll be partnering with So Far Music, and they pride themselves and bring intimate music nights. So it's like 3 music acts in varying genres. It's kind of like dinner en blanc, where you don't know what you're going to get until you get there type thing, but you know where it will be. So that's a fun opportunity. And then we are programming with the Arlington Collective Art Walk. So this is something that is super fun. This is the second year that we'll be doing it. I brought it to Arlington last year, where we're working with all of the other cultural entities in the nearby walking area. So there's 8 or 9 plus cultural venues that will be open after their typical hours, offering engaged programming for that night. So that's October 3rd, a Thursday, from 3 to 7. And you can hop around, but there's a map listing all of the venues and kind of the programming happening at each location. So super fun. And then on Saturday, October 21st from 12 to 2, we'll be working with Sky Cubica, who will be leading us in a garment making workshop. So this is opportunities to revamp your closet, make clothes that fit your body better, and no sewing skills are required. So a nice little wardrobe change up opportunity there. We've a story time October 19th at 4 in the gallery, accompanied with ASL. We have our third and final ASL story time with Arlington Library on November 3rd. And the very next day is going to be a hot day. We're doing a 2-in-1 where we're bringing in Arlington Weaves for a weaving workshop. Arlington Weaves is a fantastic local organization local to Arlington, Virginia, where they take and train artists to weave, and they make gorgeous tapestries and scarves and tote bags, and all of the sales of the work go back into the organization and to the artist. So a cool weaving workshop of paper and physical loom weaving on November 4th from 12 to 2. And then directly after that, in the same day, we'll be hosting a disability film festival, working with Real Abilities of Northern Virginia, featuring a couple shorts and a mini long film festival. Snacks and things will be there. And then to close us out for the final day of the exhibition, Jen White Johnson will lead a zine making workshop with a collaboration with Art Enables. Art Enables is a visual art gallery in Washington, D.C. that is training artists to paint and do crafts and things. So the gallery is dedicated to artists with disabilities. So that will not be at Mixed Exhibitions. It will be held at Art Enables. So check the website for the date and all of that good stuff. I thank everyone for hanging out with us today. Again, please come on and visit the gallery in real life and come through this amazing work that these awesome artists have shared with you all. And with that, thank you so much. This has been recorded. We're going to put it on the website soon, so you can watch it again and again and again and share with your friends. And look forward for you guys to grow community and hang out with us again soon. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.